Good evening, and I welcome you to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. I'm your regular host, Emmanuel Jr., the chief crusader against corruption here in Ghana. As I keep saying, it is always great to come your way Mondays at 8 p.m. because that is the only time we get the opportunity to discuss matters affecting Ghana and to pursue the national interest agenda. This evening, we are going to have a conversation around the code of conduct for government appointees. Remember, some days back or a couple of weeks ago, we had the code of conduct being launched. I'm sure most of you may have had the opportunity to go through it. Others may not have had the opportunity to go through it. But today we'll interrogate it. We'll look at it very well, and then as much as possible, I am going to be very brief from this side, so to activate the phone lines as early as possible for you to also share in your views. We are interrogating it together. You are going to tell us and tell the whole country, tell the whole world what you think about the code of conduct for appointees, whether or not the content of it is really something that is going to help us fight corruption, because at the end of it all, it has to do with corruption. And in fighting corruption, I have always indicated that it is largely based on perception. Corruption fight is based on perception. And that is why we even have what we call the Corruption Perception Index. And it is not for any reason. It is just because most often when you are proving the elements that constitute corruption as a crime, it is sometimes very difficult. And so we leverage on the perception that comes with it. And that is why as a public officer, it is always important for you to be careful when you are acting or not even acting. In any other words, your actions and inactions must not present a wrong perception when it comes to the fight against corruption. Just about 2015, thereabouts, we had an instance. The then president, who is still the president now, and I'm making reference to His Excellency John Mahama, took a decisive action based on perceived corruption. And I'm making reference to the matters involving Ms. Victoria Hammer. Remember, she just expressed an intention, but because that intention created a wrong perception, she was fired. And today, posterity has always clapped for His Excellency John Mahama for making or taking that decisive action, just because that single act that he did or engaged in, it is an act that communicated to everyone that he is committed to the fight against corruption. Unfortunately, just a few days back, a similar thing has happened. And I'm making reference to a gentleman who was seen in a video sharing dollars to one woman or a fetish priest or an ex-fetish priest. There has been so many communications surrounding it. A lot of people have made their comments and they have talked about it. Those who would criticize will criticize. Those who would defend will defend. But there's one thing that is so missing, and that has to do with the word perception. It is not, and I will not sit here to present to you that the video or what was captured constitutes a crime. It is too early for anyone to assume so. There's no criminality or crime committed just as a result of the video as we saw it. But then it communicates something. It gives an impression. It gives a perception. And that is why I think a lot of people are criticizing and talking about it. I for once, I have been so surprised about the posture of NDC members in this matter. And I want to commend them. The grassroots, as we will call them, they have taken this issue so seriously. And I want to commend them, because if you have a political party that is in power and you have your members exhibiting this discerning mindset, it simply means that that party has a strong future. If you have a political party where the foot soldiers will not be whipped into line to defend anything and everything just because it is coming from their political party, then I believe that that political party's grassroots need to be commended. And that is why I was personally surprised, and I'm still surprised, that we've had some time back, very recently, where individuals have engaged in similar things, but their political party foot soldiers had decided to defend anything and everything. They would not interrogate it. And so I want to say kudos to them. I also want to acknowledge that the gentleman in question has come out to apologize. And that for me also communicates the humbleness. It communicates that this is what is expected of individuals we are paying with our taxes. That they will not come out to insult the intelligence of Ghanaians. And when they think that they have stepped on the toes of Ghanaians or the sensitivity of Ghanaians, they'll be humble enough to come out to apologize. And I'm happy such a thing has happened. But remember, as I indicated, it is still based on perception. And so the Chief of Staff has called for an interrogation to be done. I am hoping that the outcome of that interrogation will be made public for us all to know the responses that will come from this gentleman as to what really transpired, where the money came from, as in the sources of the money. Is it coming from his income? If it is coming from his income, the question is, how much is he being paid? That amount that he's being paid with, or being paid, can he get that quantum of dollars from that amount? Yes. If yes, we understand. If no, what is the other source? How did he come about that money? The other thing is whether the source is legitimate or not, whether the source contradicts. In other words, the source goes against the interest. Does it have a conflict of interest in relation to the office that he's occupying? These are all simple and basic questions that comes into the minds of every discerning person as a result of the perception that the video has created. And so we are hoping and believing that the Chief of Staff, after the interrogation, will be kind enough to tell Ghanaians the outcome of that interrogation. And based on the responses that will come from the gentleman, we'll then be able to take a very conclusive position on this matter. I have heard this morning or this afternoon that the minority also have come out giving a press conference on this matter. And you know, I'm a bit disappointed because I keep saying that the minority do not, as it stands now, do not have the locus to talk about matters bordering on corruption. They don't. Where were they when similar things and worse things were happening even under their administration? He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And so if you don't have that moral right, you could not stand up in the name of fighting for the ordinary Ghanaian. You could not stand up against your own government. This is something I wouldn't say is trivial because we haven't gotten all the facts. But the point is the minority do not even have any locus to think that they can address the media on this matter. Before we go on a commercial break, I want to read an article on this for you to reflect on. And it is titled MPP and NDC. Dear MPP grassroots members, are you seeing the difference between yourself and the NDC grassroots? When your party was in power, you were bulldozed to support and defend anything and everything, be it right or wrong. Unlike the NDC, who are criticizing their own for doing something they think is not right. And that will make them stronger and stronger over you because Ghanaians are highly likely to have trust in them than you. When your party was in power, you defended President Akufo-Addo for carrying his chair around the country. You defended Charles Bissiou, captured on tape, taking money from someone and said it is a campaign donation, even though the fellow said it was not. You defended the then president when he said LGBT was bound to happen. In fact, you defended a whole lot of errors just for those on top to benefit. The NDC, on the other hand, seems to be taking a different path. Sami Gyamfi made a mistake, even though not criminal, but they came on him. Their grassroots did not defend but criticized. I believe for correctional purposes, which I think is laudable. Also, Sami did not behave like some of your appointees. He admitted and apologized, promising not to go in that direction again. This tells you he is not ready to be arrogant, and that is also a good sign. I saw a few NDC folks trying to justify this, which I think is hypothetical because the man himself says otherwise. In other words, the man himself has come out to apologize. The NDC supporters are trying not to be zombies, which I think you, the NPP supporters, should also learn to do. The next time you get power, please don't support and defend anything and everything. And this article is apt, not just for NPP foot soldiers, but it is so apt even for NPP minority that addressed the presser this afternoon. We are going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll go into the topic and the matter that we have for today. Remember, we are interrogating government's code of conduct for appointees. You can share in your comments even before we return from the commercial break. And right after the commercial break, we'll go straight into it. We'll interrogate it at a point. We'll activate the phone lines, and then you can call in and also share your opinion on the topic that we are discussing. Stay tuned.
Every human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. Natural mineral water. Simply natural. For bulk purchase, call 0596-273-546 or 0596-273-547. This advert is FDA approved.
If I cry na menyisika, etia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia, edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre menya busia ato taxi fofo. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yema mwakwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadefo abosia, ekuokuo abosia, susu account, ene da so wɔ hɔ savings account, me bada achen savings account, ene de keka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 034229186. Na won so wetumi aka sɛ
Suhum Rural Bank ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank enti mepa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Welcome back to your transformative program. I'm still your host, Emmanuel, Jr. And as I indicated, we are interrogating government's code of conduct for appointees. And that's what we are going to do today. At the back of it is something that transpired this weekend, and that is something that I have given a brief on. Get interactive with us. So we are looking at the interrogation, or we are interrogating government's code of conduct for appointees. This was launched a couple of weeks back. Let's look at what it is all about when we talk of the code of conduct. So we're looking at the introduction. It is simply a set of rules and guidelines that outlines expected behavior, and that is the most important thing. Expected behavior, ethics, and responsibilities for individuals. Now, every good code of conduct is supposed to help in decision making. Not only that, also in the actions of the appointees. And most importantly, it's supposed to promote 4 things: integrity, accountability, respect, and transparency. And so this is what a code of conduct is supposed to achieve, or a code of conduct, what it is. The benefit of it is that it establishes trust. It promotes positive culture. It guides decision making, as I indicated earlier, and it prevents misconduct. That is the benefit. These are the benefits of code of conduct. And so with this in mind, the government of Ghana, led by His Excellency John Mahama, launched Ghana's code of conduct. It outlined the expected behavior and ethics for political appointees, emphasizing on key values. And these are the key values: integrity, honesty, impartiality, respect, decency, incorruptibility, competence, and most importantly for me, professionalism, where conducting oneself in a manner befitting public service. And that is what we mean by that. Now, the beautiful thing about this code of conduct is that when it was launched, when you look at it very well, the president himself had a page dedicated directly to him, where he wrote a message. And so in it, he says that all political appointees must, among other things, adhere to the highest ethical standards of professional conduct, act in a manner that is consistent with the government's agenda. Of course, we all know the agenda of this government: upholding values of excellence and integrity, safeguarding government property and refraining from purchasing same, either directly or indirectly, prevent waste and mismanagement in the interest of public accountability and national development, demonstrate loyalty, commitment, and dedication in the execution of ministerial duties and responsibilities. And this is what I'm so interested in. This is the pledge that came directly from the president. I pledge, and I'm quoting, I pledge to deal swiftly and decisively with any political appointee who breaches any of the standards set out in this code of conduct. That is the message that came from the president. And I want us to have that in mind. The pledge that the president gave to deal swiftly and decisively with any political appointee who breaches any of the standards that is set out in this code of conduct. And so that is very important. The president talks about that, and that is very dear to his heart. The statement of ethics, and you have it: good governance, transparency, and accountability. These 3 pillars are the pillars that are going to form the foundation of strong partnerships between the state, in this case Ghana, and society, in this case citizens, yourself and me. They are interconnected principles that create a government that is legitimate, effective, and widely supported by citizens. The code of conduct, when it is adhered to, these are the things that comes out of it. Principles that will create a government that is legitimate, effective, and most importantly, widely supported by citizens. And I'm making reference to widely supported by citizens simply because political parties, they succeed or survive on the support that they get from citizens. And so if this code of conduct is taken for granted, what it simply means is that the political party is going to suffer because they will end up not getting that wide support that they are expecting from citizens. It is under this umbrella that we as political office holders must constantly be mindful that public confidence in government institutions is vital to this, to the democracy we are practicing. Now, it goes further and says that this code of conduct clearly sets out my expectations of a government of integrity, honesty, impartiality, respect, decency, incorruptibility, competence, professionalism, and standards of conduct that can withstand the closest public scrutiny. So it is recapturing, what was said earlier about good code of conduct, professionalism, respect, decency, incorruptibility, competence, and professionalism, standards of conduct that can withstand the closest public scrutiny. That is that. Now, again, if you go into it, there were some key provisions in it. And the first one has to do with gifts. The code of conduct says that appointees are prohibited from accepting gifts that could influence their decisions. And it goes further to give value. It says gifts valued over 20,000 Ghana cedis must be declared, and appointees may be required to surrender them upon leaving office. The second one talks about travel. Official trips require prior approval, and appointees must submit reports and retire impressed within 14 days of return. The third one has to do with state assets, and it says that the purchase of state assets by political appointees is strictly prohibited. The fourth area in this code of conduct is conflict of interest. Appointees must avoid conflicts between personal interest and official interest. So these are the key provisions that you can find in it. But I'm going to take just one aspect of it, and that has to do with budgetary allocation. Out of all this, the next one we are going to look at is the budgetary allocation. The government aims to utilize financial resources prudently and efficiently. Hence, the minister, and if you go through it, the minister here is not just referring to or limiting itself to the ministers, but in essence, all appointees. The minister must ensure that, one, public funds are spent responsibly in a manner that prevents waste, inefficiency, and corruption. And remember, I told you earlier on that when we talk of corruption, it starts from perceived corruption. And so anything that is seen to be, or anything that creates a perception, that is where corruption starts from. The second one talks about public funds being allocated based on national priorities and public needs in a manner that provides value for money. Value for money. And that is very, very important. On this platform, we've talked extensively about value for money. We've talked about public procurement. We've talked about how money goes into public funds goes to waste. The third one, government operations under his or her oversight, and his or her here refers to the appointee. Appointees' oversight are managed economically, efficiently, effectively, and in compliance with applicable laws, regulations, and public financial reporting standards. The fourth one says that financial management laws, procurement rules, and budgetary guidelines are strictly adhered to prevent misappropriation of funds. And the fifth one, there is value for money in all government expenditures by promoting efficiency, reducing waste, and spending responsibly. If we are able to do, especially the fifth one, and we're able to do that by cutting down costs, cutting down waste, spending responsibly, if we are able to improve on this just about 20%, Ghana will never be the same. Everything about Ghana will change, particularly the economy will change. So this is one aspect of it, and that is the budgetary allocation that I want us to look at. The other thing is the applicability, how this code is supposed to apply. And the code says that it applies to various government officials, including cabinet ministers, deputy ministers, presidential staffers, chief executive officers and deputies, parastatal institutions, members of the Council of State, and other political appointees. So this code of conduct, these are the categories of individuals that are to be subjected to the content of the code of conduct. And I'm bringing this to your attention so that you will also serve as a check on these individuals, because we are building Ghana together. The other thing is enforcement. I mean, I have said that the code of conduct, when it was launched, the position of Crusaders Against Corruption has been that the code of conduct is as useless as anything until it is enforced. Now, if you go to the document itself, it talks about how it will be enforced and talks about public apology. So a breach of it will warrant a public apology if the situation demands that. It would warrant reprimanding if the situation demands that. It will warrant suspension if the situation warrants that. Forced resignation, and I believe all of us know what that means, if the situation warrants that. And the ultimate, which is termination, and again, if the situation warrants that. And so these are the ways by which the content of the how do we call it, the code of conduct will be enforced. It is very, very, very important for us to ensure that this code of conduct is adhered to. In summary and in brief, this is what the code of conduct is about. Remember, I dwelt a bit more on one aspect that has to do with the budgetary allocation, because that is also important and it is very, very key. If we will talk about corruption, aside conflict of interest and all those things, it is largely based on bribery. It is largely based on monies exchanging hands. And so it is important for us to look at the budgetary allocation. And if you look at the content under budgetary allocation, there are 5 clear things. Public funds are to be spent responsibly. Public funds are allocated based on national priorities. Government operations under appointees' oversight are managed economically, efficiently, effectively. Financial management laws, procurement rules, and budgetary guidelines are strictly adhered to. And very importantly, there's value for money. There is value for money. We are going to activate the phone lines this evening. As I indicated, it is a platform for you, and so as much as possible, I'm not going to speak much on it. I've just given you a brief of it. I've given you a guideline. I've given you what it is all about, the code of conduct. You are going to share your views and position on it. Do you think this code of conduct is indeed something that is going to help us fight corruption as a country? Do you think this code of conduct is indeed something that is going to help the appointees protect the public purse and protect your interest and my interest, the national interest? Do you think the content in this code of conduct is just a content that will say that, well, just like Ghana, we write so many laws, principles, and guidelines, but we don't enforce it? Do you believe that the government of the day is committed to ensuring that the content that makes up the code of conduct will be enforced? The call lines are exhibited on the screen, and you can call in and let us interrogate this together. There are some messages that comes in. That one says that Sami Jemfi has apologized. That's all. We, the NDC, have forgiven him. You didn't add your name to it. This one says, if President Mahama is ready to fight for corruption, I'm sure against corruption, we don't fight for it. We fight against it. If President Mahama is ready to fight against corruption, then he must do something to show his readiness to fight corruption. And this is from Owusu Echampon, Asinfosu. Good evening, Mr. Watson. Please, giving someone money in the public is a crime. Please, giving someone money in the public is a crime. There's a question mark, so I should assume that you are asking whether or not giving someone money in the public is a crime. Or if you occupy posts, you have no right to give anyone money, or just because the money is in dollars. If yes, we saw cash for votes in this country. What about that one? Okay, so you didn't add your name to it. This one says, Mr. Wilson, please, does the money, does it belong to the state, or is it Sami's personal money? Please let me know, sir. And this is from Matthew. Matthew, thank you. We have a caller on the line. Good evening and welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Good evening. My name is Aisha. I'm from Kansas.
Aisha, thanks for calling in. Can you reduce the volume on your TV set?
Okay, all right. I've done that.
Very well. Please go ahead.
Play the code of conduct is very good for all the appointees. And as well, we the citizens should also take that code of conduct to in our education system. Because as we are growing, we have to keep on learning things so that we will change our way of our mindset and everything. So that the country will be good for all of us.
Very well. Thank you so much, Aisha. That's very important. The code of conduct, fantastic. It is good. And I agree 100% that we need it. The point I have, or the difficulty I've always had is that in Ghana, as I indicated, there are 3 ways to fight corruption, or 3 elements needed in fighting corruption. The first one is what we call the institutions, anti-corruption institutions. The second one is what we call the laws, anti-corruption laws. And then the third one is the will that comes from the leadership, or the leader of the day. I'm coming. Good evening and welcome to Politics and Beyond. Your name and where you are calling from?
I'm calling from Sabah.
Can you raise your voice a bit? And if you are listening to yourself through your TV set, can you reduce the volume? Okay, you say you are calling from where? Anthony, your line is not so clear. Can you reposition yourself? Anthony. Okay, I think we are struggling to get Anthony. Anthony, you can call back again. So as I was saying, there are 3 elements. The institution, anti-corruption institution. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Good evening.
Your name and where you are calling from?
My name is Samuel, calling from Mankranso National Region.
Okay, Samuel.
Yes, I think I need a code of ethics. But for me, it's not about the availability of the code of ethics, but the enforcement of it. Like you just said in your intro, it's very important that it is enforced. That's the reason why, even though there is nothing specific in the code of conduct that is innovative, violating. However, the offices were not good, and so I think that it should be suspended for some time to send a good signal, so that we will continue to enjoy the goodwill that we are enjoying from Ghanaians. Thank you very much.
So much, Samuel, and my greetings to everyone in Mankraso. I mean, that's a fantastic presentation that you've made. So, as I was saying, you have the anti-corruption institutions, the anti-corruption laws, and then you also have the individual who is leading. Do you have a caller on the line?
Yeah.
Welcome to Politics and Beyond. Your name and where you are calling from?
Yeah, I'm Pastor Raska.
Pastor
Rasta.
Okay. Very well. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Can you reduce the volume on your TV set, please?
Okay.
Please, guys, when you call in, I mean, just know that you can't be listening to yourself through your TV set. It's not the best.
Yes.
Please go ahead. We can still hear your TV. Okay, so you correct it and call back. So, over these past years, we've had the anti-corruption institutions, a lot of them. We've had the anti-corruption laws, a lot of them. What we've been lacking has to do with the enforcement. So we always need a leader who is committed to enforcing the content. And so we can have the code of conduct. By the end of the day, if it is not enforced, it is dead on arrival. And it will end up just becoming a waste of the public funds, because obviously it is the state's money that was used to print this. It was the state's money that was used to launch this. It was the state's money that was used to bring people together to develop this code of conduct. And so what is important, just like Sami said earlier, what is important, and I also said in my intro, is the fact that we need to see the enforcement of it. And that is very, very important. The other thing that we have here, do I have a caller on the line? All right. So, do I have a caller on the line? Caller, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Good evening, my brother.
Good evening. Mpacho Katri, Udi, any baby out Kasifi.
But we live in the Sanocrata and the Casafrica, so I be a former in the kitchen, container me to have one boom, get an
That's a good introduction. Maybe I shall meet you.
That's the company will show I am Mr. Papa, and last week, and I'm trying to follow, but I'm going to them. And shout now, with my power, and I'm in charge of that one working.
That's it.
Wow, and also all Ghana.
Hope you are lying as well. Yes.
The part of Ghana Constitution. And him fana Yatron said answer will be a true biadi. But he was why, yeah, Castle will be 18 to be a year now, Ghana Constitution. Me, but he can create in a me boss, me make us a me boss on Yakaka. Oh, the idea or this kind of mamma, any mamma attitude that we should be penny them. I want to be I never did. And as you cannot say, or a pair dollars no, and one I never did. They also watch chairman, minister, no, and only no problem, mammy. It is also what it means of woman in Kabana. You like I say, the budget here, the budget work on a show. I'm a tired budget now, you can as well. I'm trying to get you, Mamma Canagirana. And then the questions I receive different. That's how I think it's can be a problem. You're better than that. And you will be and you're not entertain your national. And do the and that's all about them. Inflation about them. And the petrol article. Then you're not winning what they come at them. Not a normal and shabby and to go to a friend of Manasso.
I mean, to answer your question, Osha your constitution nimwa. If I Osha the criminal code 1960 nimkra, the be anywhere a chair says Uma Ubisika, what from Umbra. There's nothing like that. And I make a cry me intro nim say there's nothing like that. Strictly speaking, the video as it is now on committee any crime BIA. But we are looking at the perception out there. Because corruption is all about perception. And that is why I'm encouraging the chief of staff. Say, after the interrogation that is taking place, I don't know whether it happened today or is yet to happen, but I know that we invited the gentleman in question for some interrogation. These are questions that we expect to be answered. What is the source of the money? Is it coming from Onoani pocket and from the office that he's holding? If it is not from the office that he's holding and it's not coming from his pocket, where did it come from? These are questions that we expect. When we get answers to these questions, then we will know the next line of action. But for now, it is important for that perception to be corrected. And the perception will only be corrected when the interrogations takes place and basic questions are answered. So going back to the text messages. This one says that, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Okay. Caller, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you.
Ibrahim, Pachokoso.
If I saw the person can say, a citizen finish, Ikaya Musedi or Nanisika. And the view is Mamini and I can say, or Barbie decent people, and I will be dear this one. But then I'm there and 1 yard. Supporters mainly Ghana for Sunapotre. And some way and cancer, take you, Sanigancy. 1 year, I not give one note and go between on cast says, Sabio, or no Sicana or the Mamma Meno, as in Bonibu between. And also more my time and these supporters and Sunapotre, party power and chair. We saw and see, and we saw I see, some man on Umunya power no party no more about power. We kept in the Bay Ghana, $10 near you, nothing, this is to Sonoma. We have a trade. My airport. So, no one else, and just man on Tono. Mobile crowd with $1 near that this year, Crowma, or this crisis, a political cry. After we never finished a finger.
Ibrahim, Medasepa, Michio Biawo Sifi. So this one says, Mr. Wilson, Sami Jemfi must learn a bitter lesson from this if he survives dismissal. Why should you give a caliber of Agrada money? Is she in need of money like your party food soldiers? who suffer for the party to come to power. Even if you want to give out money, why not in cities? And this is Moses from Inkwanta Oti region. Caller, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you.
Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm Eric Baditi from Shama.
Eric, please go ahead.
Yeah.
To me, Kachi, if you want to speak to you can go ahead too with English.
So I can make misuse of
Do
it.
that too also.
You see, the whole thing is that the code of ethics now, President Odima, Odima, or more holding office, or those that he gives them just to guide them how to what to behave in public. That is the problem. You see, somebody put dollars in his under his bed. We spoke about it. Now you are putting dollars in your car. What is the difference? You see, that's our problem, but not the money that he gives us out. So the code of ethics should guide them how to behave in public, and then so that nobody should. So now he himself has tied the president hands at his back how to act of this issue, so that his name will not be soiled.
That's true. Eric, thank you so much. I agree 100% with you. This one says, Mr. Wilson, I'm so disappointed in my brother Sammy Jemfi's action. I've been campaigning for NDC since 2017 till now, but I'm not getting any benefit from it. My fellow NPP friends are even teasing me. Okay, you didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Firstly, extend my greetings to Chairman Shai. Okay, so caller, welcome to Politics and Beyond. Your name and where you are calling from?
Yeah, good evening. I'm calling from Adam. My name is Asem.
Your name is?
My name is Lemuel Asem.
Okay, please go ahead.
I wish you good night about a difficult work you have done.
Thank
you. Let me talk to NDC sympathizers or NDC soldiers that Sammy Jemfi has not done anything wrong, but my problem is the person that receives the money from Sammy Jemfi. That is my worry. That woman is a witch. I can say with authority.
I'm coming. The name again is Asem, right?
Yes.
Mr. Asem.
Yes.
Can you retract that one? See, I retract.
I will do that one.
Beautiful. Go ahead.
I will do that one.
Please go ahead.
So, that is my worry. So, let us have patience. NPP, Muhammad, that particular Wale MP. We are in this country. During the election, their Vice President Baumia sharing Doris. We are seeing videos, so many videos. That particular MP, that time he was not MP. Why you don't mind press conference? So these NPP people, they are hypocrites.
Okay.
You see, as a good board director or CEO and finance minister, they are managing the economy properly. That's why today the city is very standard as the dollar. So allow Swami JC to continue the good job because they are exposing NPP. That's why they are doing that kind of. I don't know how to use the word today.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't want you to use any word. Thank you so much. So this one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. I want to thank His Excellency John Mahama for stabilizing the economy for just 4 months into office. Now the city has regained its strength by moving from 17 per dollar to 13 Ghana cedis to $1, and recent reduction of fuel from 15 cedis per liter to 12 cedis per liter. Today, our currency is the most performing currency in the world. What a wonderful government, Mahama. Okay, so this is Teacher Abu from Seshibuako. Okay, thank you so much. Caller, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Hello.
Welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Please, I want to speak to you.
Mema wakwaba eba politics and beyond. Udini baby akasefi.
Because what you say you also Nana.
Nana, me pacho yeti.
No. So I'm going to just 7% kaka. She cannot be chairman when they can have one. Now, what do you say? I'm not again about the president, Mamma can. This is not this particular woman. About food soldiers, you know, will be all quite you need them because of politics. No one is car, what a damn woman, I got I know this Tacoma. Now, or no, or yet, I'm most concerned now with Blue Crop Fast and T7 you want it. Okay. The thing of this is kind of mamma, and all the man on Pangoma, I soldiers now, much more. Confusion of blame was when you almost under your pay. And confusion of blame or could not say the blame. In the time, a kind of fast of this kind of man on the or no any seeker. That's what for the by 9 years. I was for the man or more strong. Or the command children's who poke and campus was again. Agrada.
Mate. Nana, Medasipa. So this one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Thank you very much for such an educative program. In fact, the MPP and the minority can't point fingers on NDC when it comes to corruption. So they should keep quiet and remain in opposition. And this is coming from George Nana Apreku from Senya Breku. Caller, welcome to Politics and Beyond. Yes, Kachi, Memo Akwaba, Eba Politics and Beyond. Udini baby akasefi. Mepa ni bien. It's you.
Mr. Mo, sometimes you have to media Ghana for 10 years. Near Moko Musica Brown in them crossing, or Moko Negra, Safran, Ghana for anything. Then Catholic Samijam and yet, name would come, no Nippon or this kind of man. I got that. I can't send you a video free so. I got that many powers or this kind of man. On no credit, yes, send me caught up. After a camera, somehow, Samija who go on your program because on one Catharina or a Yabuni on Pendy it was. I don't think as a major who this is for my Agrada. Out of my poor and this is supposed to say good of my own video. Father, Syrian Collins, I hear more the money you. The move is I make it to anybody and I brewer. What is the case of movie I got? How is it got from an idea? I'm ready to come on. I don't grab a chance. I be a fire. You grab the social media. You at them. Some of you, I can't say a car. I party. Just stress them. I'm with the I will try to know your fan about it. And some of you more and I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Papa, you and I'm watching you. We are normal day. Then I hang on with them and the country for any normal day.
Mate. So let me just read this message, and this is coming from the chairperson of Crusaders Against Corruption. Perception is key, and that is exactly what I have been talking about, because that is the position of Crusaders Against Corruption. When you are fighting corruption, perception is key. This one says, so perception is key. Why dollars? Where from the dollars? Why in Ghana? Who is controlling how foreign exchange is moving about? Shameful behavior from someone highly regarded in public. Tantamount to Nigerian spraying. In Nigeria, the practice of spraying money is commonly referred to as spraying. This tradition often occurs at celebrations and events such as weddings, birthday parties, and other festive gatherings. During these occasions, guests shower the celebrants with cash, which is typically given as a gesture of goodwill, support, or to celebrate the moment. The act of spraying is not only seen as a way to provide financial gift, but also as a display of affluence and social stature or status. So these are the three things: perception, display of affluence, and that's very, very important. and social status. Remember, just about a couple of months back, before the general elections, we had, and all of us were saying it, how the Eswell administration has messed up the economy, how the Eswell administration has broken the front of the economy to the extent that it's so difficult for individuals to even have a decent meal, 3 square meal, to have it. Fast forward 120 days plus, new government in office, appointee is seen sharing $1 or dollars. Perception. No one is talking about the criminality of it, and no one is saying that what is happening is criminal or not criminal, but we are looking at perception. How is it going to communicate that in less than 4 months or so, individuals who were in opposition and were talking about how difficult the system is, then all of a sudden they are in a position now and they are able to exhibit this? And as I indicated earlier, this conversation has come about really because it is the NDC foot soldiers themselves, or the NDC members themselves, who are raising it so strongly. And for me, I take solace in that, simply because we had an administration, the MPP administration led by His Excellency Akufo-Addo, where even members of parliament were scared to criticize their own government. They were so scared of Akufo-Addo and his administration that even when things were going wrong, they were scared. But today we have a government where foot soldiers, party members themselves, can criticize their own. It's a good sign of democracy being deepened in Ghana. It's a good sign that we indeed have, or we are gradually restoring the trust that we were losing in the government that we were having, or the democracy that we were having. And so this is kudos. But remember, no one is saying that a crime has been committed. We are dwelling on the perception here. And that is very, very important. There's a message that says the recent brouhaha involving Sammy Gyamfi does not reflect well on him, regardless of the perspective one takes. As a public political figure, there's an expectation to uphold a certain standard of ethics and judgment. In this instance, he clearly misstepped. Any effort to justify his actions only further tarnishes his image and render the entire situation both distasteful and lacking in decorum. By the way, I like how you asked that caller to retract calling Agrada a witch. Anyway, thank you so much. Still going back to the messages. This one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Anyone offended in the action of Sammy Gyamfi should go to court if there's an act of illegality in his action. I don't think anyone is talking about illegality here. I don't think so. And so far the testers and the callers and even messages and communications I have seen and heard outside this platform, no one is talking about legality. I don't think so. Remember, we are dealing with perception here. So we saw the ex-president receive money publicly, and those making noise now kept quiet. I agree. People have stolen huge sums of money and managed so many illegality in this country. This is his personal money. Do they mean a person of his caliber can't have such money? Okay, and this is Theophany from Beposo. Very well. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, I suggest the code must be adhered to by all persons working at government institutions and must be strictly enforced because human beings are naturally corrupt and failure to enforce it will mean nothing. Thank you. Well done. I am well done. Okay, so your name is Well Done from Ashaman. I agree 100% with you. Well done. Now, I'm not sure whether it's a male or female, but well done. Yeah. Well done for sending in the message. This one says the NDC supporters should be patient since this is not a crime. when someone dashes somebody money. Mr. Wilson, what happened to one Ashanti NPP MP who was caught on camera giving money in envelope to electoral officials? You see, that is the reason why I keep saying that. And I don't want to dwell so much on it. In other words, I don't want to amplify it. I don't want to give it any credence. The press conference that was done by the minority in power, or the minority in parliament today, they have no locus to make that. In fact, they have no locus. Those who have the locus to communicate are those who have done so this past period. And I'm making reference to the NDC members themselves. They are checking themselves. And this serves as a strong warning to other appointees that party members themselves are so committed to ensuring that the government succeed, particularly in the fight against corruption. And so they themselves will serve as checks and balances. And I'm so proud of it. The NPP minority leadership, minority members in parliament, even the NPP as a political party do not have any locus. They have no locus to make any comments on this, on what is happening here. And that is actually the fact, or that is the truth. We've talked about the code of conduct. A lot of messages that have come through are all talking about the enforcement of it. How are we able to enforce? How are we able to ensure that we enforce the contents of this? Because you see, if we are not able to enforce this, we are not able to enforce the content of it, it becomes just a paper. It will be put somewhere. And the worrying part of it is that any law, any guidelines that doesn't have the ability to be enforced or doesn't have the ability to bite, that guidelines, that law is as useless as anything. I am hoping and expecting that the president will communicate to all of us once more that the trust reposed in him, the trust that has been given to him by citizens, by civil society organizations, by individuals, most who are not even in the NDC as a political party, the goodwill he's enjoying even from outside this country or the borders of this country, he will once again take a swift and decisive action in ensuring that the code of conduct is respected, the code of conduct is adhered to. And that is all we need in this country. Remember, as I keep saying, corruption is based on perception. The perception that is created is very key and very important. Government appointees, you should be careful in your dealings, careful in your actions, careful in your inactions. As Crusaders Against Corruption, where we sit, we have already started receiving a number of evidences and a number of information regarding wrongdoings, matters bordering on corruption, perceived corruptions, and all that. And we are gathering all the needed information. And at the right time, we'll share them with the public. Government appointees, be very mindful of your actions and inactions. You have no idea how you are being watched. This code of conduct will ensure that it is adhered to. I'm going to wrap up by reading to you again a comment that came from the president. And this should be something that will guide all appointees. And I quote, "I pledge to deal," and the I here makes reference to the president of the day, His Excellency John Mahama. "I pledge to deal swiftly and decisively with any political appointee who breaches any of the standards set out in this code of conduct." Mr. President, we are looking forward to this. We are all waiting patiently to see that you have manifested this pledge. We are looking forward to seeing that indeed the code of conduct is not just one ceremony or one of the ceremonies, but it is something that is indeed serious and you are committed to it. The code of conduct is as useless as anything if you do not enforce it. Kudos one more time to the NDC members, foot soldiers, who themselves have decided to take this issue on. And to the minority again, you have no locus. You actually have no locus. When Ghanaians were expecting you to talk, you were just so scared. You chickened out, left Ghanaians to suffer. Your voice is not a voice that we need at this time. All too soon, this is where time will allow us. Next week, we are going to dive a bit deeper into the topic that we'll be having, and it will still be bordering on fighting corruption. As you always know, this is recorded, so you can go back to it on our social media handles to listen to it again. And our platform that we have, you can still get interactive, engage with others on our platform on the topic that we have discussed. We'll meet again next week, but till we meet again next week, I'm still your host, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., and all I can say for now is good night.